Yo guys, welcome to the video. Today I just kind of want to talk about Borderlands 4 and everything new coming with it, all the characters, the story, legendaries, kind of just what you need to know before going into Borderlands 4. I already recorded this audio once, like this was live commentary, but I guess we just have some gameplay here for now. Because my audio did not record the first time. But whatever, we're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna do it now. First let's start with the release date, I guess. Borderlands 4 comes out September 12th. That's only like 16 days away from when I'm recording this, I believe. I don't know. But yes. People were saying that the game only launches with 2 Vault Hunters, which is hilarious. No, that's a bad theory. I understand it was a meme that Vex was going to be the only character at some point, but no. There are 4 characters. There's Harlow, Amon, Vex, and Rafa. All of them do various different things compared to the previous games where some characters were doing similar things, but whatever. Let's get into that right now. I want to start with Amon because he's going to be the one that I probably start with on launch. Amon is a massive brute of a character. He's roughly 2 Salvadors put together, 2.5 Salvadors. They say he is the biggest character they have ever created, which is kind of cool because I played Krieg back in the day, and although I don't like playing Krieg, Krieg is massive and he's heavy. And you can really feel that here with Amon from all the gameplay I've seen and everything that I've kind of watched already. Amon looks massive and he feels heavy to play. When you're using his action skills, all 3 of them, which really feels like 13 of them, you will understand what I mean by he's big and he's heavy. Speaking of action skills, let's get into that. Amon has quite a few. He has fiery punches where you can like dash towards targets, punching them, lighting them on fire, causing them to explode, whatever. You can change the element. Next, we have what I consider his coolest. I don't know the names of these. I probably should have been more prepared, but whatever. He has an action skill where he can pull out 2 axes. One of them of fire, the other of frost. He can throw them, or you can just straight up melee with them, dealing fire or frost damage. You can change the elements of these to shock if you want later on, if you have enough skills. Next after that, he pulls out a shield. He has a shield action skill, and when it charges up enough, or absorbs enough damage, you are able to unleash a whip attack. All of these action skills for any character, by the way, can be changed with various skills later on down the trees. For example, Amon can pull out hammers instead of axes. He has spears, he has swords, he has pretty much whatever you need to be a warrior of fucking destruction. Next, I want to talk about Vex. Vex is our siren. Although she probably doesn't feel like a siren in this game. Vex's whole thing is kinetic damage, which is, in this game, it's non-elemental damage. Vex focuses on non-elemental damage and uses her clones and her self-sustain to dominate the battlefield. She has little like demon versions of herself that she can place down as turrets, or like melee turrets, whatever. She has an action skill where she can turn into like her siren form, like her dark siren form, called Dark Blast, and she can like send out waves of damage. She can send out explosive damage by like her orbs. She can do a whole lot. She focuses later down on her trees into bleed damage. Like I said before, she focuses non-elemental damage. Not saying that she doesn't get benefits from elemental damage, because she can, but you will notice that if you use non-elemental damage over elemental damage, you will probably be benefiting more from that non-elemental damage. Rafa is next that I want to talk about. Rafa is going to be very cool, especially if you enjoyed playing Zane from Borderlands 3. Rafa is going to be the most agile, or the most mobile character. He's going to have the most movement speed, he's going to have the most reload speed, whatever. He's going to be the speediest character. Rafa has some, I want to say bland action skills, but I do see the potential in them. One of them is he has shoulder-mounted turrets. These are kind of like Zane's shoulder-mounted cannons, but in my opinion better. They activate and they shoot at whatever you are aiming at. They don't just automatically just keep shooting and shooting, but they will automatically shoot once you aim at a target. They won't just be shooting at the ground or whatever. They automatically aim at enemies. Later on you can change them to be like lasers or missiles, whatever you want. Next he has kind of like a hand cannon, I guess, that has a few charges. This I'm sure will be used for just dominating bosses later on down the line. But you charge up a shot and then you shoot it off, kind of causing like shock explosive damage. From all the tests I've seen and everyone's opinions that I heard, this is the like least damaging ability with the builds that they had. They weren't allowed to respec or whatever, but with the builds that they had, it was just not working as well as other action skills, which is kind of disappointing because I had potential for it. I'm sure it works great with specific builds towards it, but as of right now, it just doesn't seem that cool. Next, he has his melee ability. He pulls out 2 blades on his exosuit, and then you go into a third-person perspective where you can dash towards enemies, doing shock melee damage. You have like a spin attack that deals insane damage, and every time you hit an enemy with these blades, you will mark them, and after a certain amount of time, they will explode, dealing explosive shock damage. Moving on to our final Vault Hunter here, I want to talk about Harlow. Harlow is going to be everyone's pick if you want to just clear out mobs super easily, because she is basically the Siren class of this game. Amon is like full of elemental abilities. Vex is focused on lifesteal and her clones, but Harlow is practically the Siren. She is called the Gravitar because she uses like science and stuff to control gravity and do whatever she wants. But she might as well just be the Siren because she benefits a lot from elemental damage, especially radiation and cryo. Her 3 action skills use a lot of elemental damage, and I think are the most unique out of any abilities we have, besides for one of them. One of them is basically Phase Lock from Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. You toss a device onto an enemy, and it suspends them in the air for a short amount of time. Now, where it gets unique is that if you activate it again, you will throw the enemy that is encased in the ball either at enemies, dealing more damage, or at walls. This will cause an explosion, dealing elemental damage, and it'll do Harlow's special ability called Entangled. Entanglement is when you damage an enemy with your action skill, they will gain something called Entanglement, where all enemies who are entangled will share damage. I think it's like 7% of damage goes towards enemies that are entangled, but yes, those enemies will share damage. Moving on to Harlow's second ability, it's kind of like Flack's Mine from Borderlands 3. She tosses out a device. All enemies that are in this big area of the device will be entangled, so they share damage, and they will also take elemental damage while they're in there, probably being slowed as well, because that's what most of your other action skills do. And it's just real good for getting entanglement across the board, just so you can easily do a good amount of damage and probably get that insta-kill. Harlow's last action skill is pretty much a nuke. She sends out a giant disco ball that slows enemies when it passes through them and also puts entanglement on them. It'll explode once activated again or it hits a surface, dealing massive radiation damage and will practically wipe the entire battlefield. This is probably going to be what everyone uses for an action skill, and I understand why. However, I do think just encasing someone and tossing them off the map would be freaking hilarious. Now I kind of want to get into the story of Borderlands 4, which in my opinion could possibly be the most interesting story we've had so far. Besides maybe Borderlands 2, but you can't really surpass Handsome Jack at that point, right? So this story takes place, I want to say 2 or 3 years after Borderlands 3. Lilith is still missing after teleporting Elpis away, and she ended up crashing Elpis into a planet called Kairos, which is all the way across the universe that people didn't even know really existed, because Kairos has been isolated and has been on lockdown for over 200 years. The leader of Kairos, the Timekeeper, controls everything on Kairos with an iron fist. The Timekeeper implants kind of like tracking metallic devices into his civilians or anyone realistically that crashes on Kairos. And this allows him to track them, see through them, do whatever he wants with these civilians, honestly. But when Lilith crashed Elpis into Kairos, the outer protective shield was cracked open. This allowed the civilians to actually see the stars for the first time and then start rebelling against the Timekeeper because they realized there's more out there than, what's on Kairos, which is practically dog shit. So, after they do that, people start tearing out their implants. A lot of them died because of this, but in the end, a lot of them just gained psychosis by tearing out chunks of their brain, spines, whatever. So these are going to be mainly the enemies that we fight. And now because of this, since Lilith crashed Elpis into Kairos, we now know where Lilith is. And everyone on Sanctuary gathers up their things and starts heading towards Kairos. Things apparently go south. We don't have much information on this, but it seems like we do crash into Kairos. And we get taken captive by the Timekeeper and get our own set of implants. I'm sure since the game centers around being free and breaking free, we will either have the option or just forcibly do it. Take our implants out at some point in the game, which is kind of cool that we have to fight for our own freedom. But yeah, that's pretty much the main premise of Borderlands 4 story. And next I kind of want to move on to theories that people have been having about the game and speculations that people have about things that just aren't quite true. And it's sad that people think this, but we're gonna have to cover it anyway. People were saying that the user agreement has changed for Borderlands 4, and they will now be able to track your gameplay, use your info, whatever. And people are saying that they are essentially able to use your content however they feel, and use it for marketing, whatever they want, without compensating the user or the content creator. This is just not true. They cannot do that. They have specifically said themselves that this user agreement is the same as the last one. Literally nothing has changed. The code won't track you, it won't track your folders, it won't do whatever. They won't steal your content, whatever. This is confirmed by the devs. This is confirmed by YouTubers, big and small. This is confirmed by basically everyone besides people that read that news and just decided to stick with it. People were saying that the modding community is also screwed over now because of something in the user agreement where mods are just not going to be able to be used anymore. That is not true. Devs and YouTubers alike have confirmed that you are allowed to mod Borderlands the same as Borderlands 3 and the same as Borderlands 2. Nothing has changed. You can do whatever you want in your own game. As long as you're not ruining the experience for other people, like giving people broken guns that will crash their game or whatever, you can possibly just... I'm not sure if you can get banned for that or something, but I don't know. But yeah, as long as you're not harming other players, you are fine to do whatever you please. Next, I want to talk about legendaries because everyone plays Borderlands for the guns. The guns are sick in this game, especially the legendaries. We have so many returning legendaries. I want to say confirmed we have about 120 legendaries out right now that we know of. You can look up videos or blog posts, whatever, to see the full look through on all these legendaries. But so far, there's only 120. We don't know if we discovered all of them or if we had access to them, but yes, in Borderlands 3, there was about 220 legendary weapons, I think. And in this game, they said they lessened the amount and made them a priority. So getting them is rare, and there's less of them, which makes them even more rare. A lot of these legendaries are returning legendaries. Like, I will spoil one of them, and that is the Hellwalker. I am very excited to use the Hellwalker again. It was probably one of my favorite Jacob's weapons in Borderlands 3, so I'm excited for that. But even all the new legendaries that they brought look sick, and I am so excited to use these with different synergies that I plan on with certain builds. I think everyone's going to enjoy these legendaries. But besides legendaries, they changed how manufacturing will work for weapons. So back in the day, if you had like a TDR part on your gun, like if you had a TDR grip, it would increase your reload speed. Or decrease it, my bad. It will decrease it to the point where you can reload quickly. For a Jacob's part, you will probably have increased crit damage. But for Borderlands 4, if you have a TDR part on your, let's say, Jacob's gun, you have a Jacob's pistol and you have a TDR part, you will now be able to throw your Jacob's gun as if it was a TDR. If you have a Jacob's part on your, let's say, Daedalus gun, Daedalus is a new manufacturer. If you have a Jacob's part on your Daedalus gun, you will now be able to ricochet shots to a different enemy. So if you're theory crafting in your head like I am, if you have a Jacob's part on your Tor gun, you will probably be ricocheting missiles to nearby enemies instead of bullets, which I think is kind of cool. This adds for so many different variations of guns. So many Jacob's guns with TDR or Atlas parts, whatever. Now they did remove Doll. Doll was one of my favorites because it was kind of just basic. But Doll was one of my favorites and they did remove it. However, Doll isn't gone forever, they said. Doll could possibly come back, and we do have a piece of Doll with us in the form of Echo 4. Echo 4 is probably going to be the most useful tool that we have in Borderlands 4, besides all the bonus movement stuff, but I will get to that in a minute. Echo 4 allows you to place a marker and a path towards your next main objective that you can follow. And I think that's very helpful because in Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 3, I would get lost a lot. Even though I've played these games since launch, I would still get lost. But now with Echo 4, you will now have a pathfinder to your next objective, and I think that's just very helpful. Echo 4 will also have certain animations when you die. He's helpful for hacking and activating your waypoints, your new use stations, stuff like that. Now, with new core mechanics, like gameplay-wise, I want to talk about the movement, swimming. Swimming is a thing now. Grappling hooks, whatever, bosses, everything. Just overall, kind of the new stuff coming. In the movement department, we now have dashes, double jumps, and gliding. So you can double jump into the air and then hold the jump button in order to glide. And you can glide a great distance with this. You also get increased glide distances as you continue completing missions and challenges and stuff. You can upgrade your glides. And I think this is just going to be fantastic for the pace of the game. It'll make it faster pace. It'll make the bosses a lot more interesting and just maneuvering around a lot more interesting. I mentioned grappling hooks. You can shoot your grappling hook at like barrels or objects, throw them at enemies. Certain bosses will have you grapple parts of their bodies to open up weak spots. You can grapple around the environment, like onto a higher ledge or something. So movement is going to be very clean. Exiting and entering your car has been faster, or is faster than ever before. It's very easy, literally takes like 0.2 seconds. You can digistruct your car from anywhere. And this map is massive, so you're going to be doing that a lot. You're going to be gliding and entering and exiting your car a lot. This game, I believe, is like I want to say 2.5 times bigger than Borderlands 3 ever was. Like, this game is massive. You're going to be driving for miles. If you're walking, which I don't suggest, you'll be coming across a lot of activities and just a whole lot to do. There's going to be objectives everywhere in this game, so keep your eye out. There's random events, random encounters. This game is going to be probably the best Borderlands game we've ever played, boys. I'm just going to be honest with you. Alright, so I think that's going to wrap up the video. If you guys have any questions or think I missed out on anything, let me know down below in the comment section. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do enjoy this content. I will be making more Borderlands content once the game actually releases. And yeah, if you guys plan on pre-ordering it, let me know. Maybe we can hit up each other online in matchmaking, see how that goes. But yeah, see you around in the next one. Bye.